don't let this fear of potentially not being able to trust someone prevent you from being able to make progress, because those people are out there that you can trust and would be a massive, massive, massive help to you. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're flipping the script for another special edition episode to get Michael's take on overcoming the fear of delegating the critical parts of your life and business, how to maintain authentic relationships even in the face of success, and parenting with the intention of building character, not entitlement.
From my experience and the people that I've talked to that have a lot of wealth, but also really grateful children, what I have seen is it's more about the values you teach them than the lifestyle they grow up with.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast. All right, welcome back to another AMMA.
Excited to be here, Jessica. You know, I've gotten a number of texts from people when we talk about some sort of app or product or something on the podcast. I know we talked about that, was it like the Knicks playground for kids? It was like the
kind of
augmented reality, like Nintendo Wii style thing that we did with our kids. And then I'll get messages from people like, yeah, I just bought this thing. So we're not affiliated with any of these companies. If we come across something that we find interesting and valuable, of course, I'll talk about it on the show. I really don't care whether you buy it or not. And I know it was, as we were setting up here, we were talking about just the most Steve Jobs type product that came in the post Steve Jobs era, that if Steve were alive, he'd be very, very proud of. And that's got to be the AirPods.
Yeah.
Like hands down. And then I found this article where it talked about just like what happened during each era of leadership when Steve Jobs was CEO versus Tim Cook being CEO.
Fascinating.
And during Steve Jobs' CEO, I pull it up. It's like it was the iMac, Mac OS, iPod, iTunes, MacBook Pro, the iPhone, MacBook Air, the App Store, iPad, and iCloud, right? Which were all very, very transformational.
Yeah.
And then people look at Tim Cook and they say, well, he's a very operations CEO, not as innovative as Steve Jobs, and Apple hasn't really driven as much innovation. But under Tim Cook, if you look at it, it was the Mac Pro, the Apple Watch, Apple Pay, AirPods, the HomePod, the M1 chip, AirTags, and Apple Vision Pro. So you can look at those and say, well, that wasn't as transformational as the iPhone or as the iPad or as Mac OS. But I would say they were quite transformational in their own right. And then the other impressive stat is that during Steve Jobs' tenure, so from 97 to 2011, this is when he returned, right? Not the initial tenure, but Apple grew by $344 billion versus under the 14 years of Tim Cook's tenure, it grew by $3 trillion. I think that's incredible. I think Tim Cook is probably one of the greatest succession plans of all time. Like if you were to pass on as CEO and you appoint your second in command, and then they grow your business by $3 trillion over the next decade plus, you'd be like, okay, I think we did it right.
It was a good decision. Yeah.
For sure. And in many ways, I think with Steve Jobs, a lot of it was innovation, product focus on the front end that would then drive the profit. But in Tim Cook's era, I think it's more so showing that profit was just a display of innovation working. So meaning that there's so much happening behind the scenes in terms of the supply chain, in terms of the infrastructure, the services business, just how they were able to grow Apple TV and then their subscription services, Apple TV Plus. They ventured into movies like F1. I think the best-selling sports movie of all time.
Yeah.
So, but back to the AirPods. These, truly an incredible invention.
Yeah.
And if you have a pair of AirPods, you already know what I'm talking about. They just work.
Yes.
But the most recent AirPods, the AirPods Pro 3, the noise canceling on these things is sick.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I run outside and, when I'm running, I'll run on transparency mode. Just there's cars driving by and there's noise, but man, if you are noise canceling, you can't hear a thing but whatever you're listening to. It is so good. And then they also now do like a heart rate like sensing in the in your ear. And I was comparing it against like my Polar heart rate monitor strap, and they're as accurate as that thing. Right? Like the Whoop heart rate's like all over the place. It's like, dude, I have no idea, right? Basically, the gold standard is like the heart rate monitor that you put across your chest. And then the AirPod in the ear was like 1-to-1 with that thing.
Yeah.
And I really don't even use that thing for heart rate monitoring. So it's extremely impressive. And again, Apple did not pay us for this.
No.
I'm sure they're doing just fine. Although I hear that even their AirPods business alone could be a company on the S&P 500. If the only thing they did was AirPods. So, yeah, a lot of innovation there. And, I think some exciting things on the way. We were talking about the phones even before this that, I know we all use our phones today, but I imagine certainly the next 10 years, I think the phones will be a relic. I think it'd be very odd to have like this physical display that you carry with you in your pocket, whether it's going to be in glasses or in contacts or some other version. That's going to become the new ecosystem for communication. So it's an exciting time to be alive.
I was about to say that. What a time to be alive.
For sure. Especially if you're an early adopter.
Yes.
And getting those AirPods Pro 3. I don't even know what phone I have anymore. They is it like the 16th one or the 17th one?
I have no idea.
See, you don't even know what phone you have.
I just keep up with whatever
you got the
do.
What was it? The orange one. Well, if you're listening, guys, welcome to the AMMA, where you guys submit your questions. We answer them here on the show. And you can text us if you've got questions, anything relating to business, leadership, growing your practice, etc. 404-531-7691. And, we don't run any ads on this podcast, believe it or not, because if we did an Apple sponsor this podcast, that would be sick.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, honestly, like Tim Cook reached out and was like, hey, man, listen, right? I will give you like AirPods for life. I'm like, done. But no, they don't need that. So we don't run any ads. So if you find any value in the show, we don't charge any money. There's no subscription service here. But if you could just share the show with a friend or leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it helps us reach more people. And then the other types of episodes we do on this podcast, we've got the interviews, one-on-one. We bring on a guest, legal industry or beyond. We got some really exciting guests coming up. Several that we've recorded, but we're not going to be launching until after the summit. And we've got an incredible slew of guests in the fourth quarter of this year. So I'm very excited about those, and some of them in Q1. And then the encore editions, where we bring back some of the episodes we've had on the podcast previously. We've done over 300 episodes now. So you get a chance to re-listen to some of the most popular ones that you guys absolutely loved, and especially if you hadn't listened to it yet, you don't have to sift through all these episodes. So with that, Jessica, what do we have this week on the AMMA?
All right. Well, let's kick us off with question number 1. Hey, Michael, I run a criminal defense practice in West Virginia, and we've been growing a lot lately. I desperately need to hire an executive assistant, but I keep finding reasons to delay it. On paper, it makes total sense, but I'm hesitant at the thought of giving someone access to my calendar, my inbox, my personal life, etc. How do you vet someone for that level of access when the downside of choosing wrong feels so huge? I know I probably need to just get over this irrational fear, but I can just imagine how trusting the wrong person could be catastrophic.
How do you find the person that you can trust with your life?
Your life, yes.
Well, okay. So first, it's defining what is trust. And the trust equation is essentially, how long have I known you divided by how many times have you screwed me over? Okay. So that is, if they've screwed you over 0 times, you can trust them. Right? If someone screws you over 1 time, then the trust goes down. If they screw you over multiple times, you don't trust them at all. And when you're thinking about, let's say, an executive assistant, what I found here, look, there's all the standard stuff, right? You run a background check, you obviously check references, but the references, of course, the people that are going to send us references are going to say good things. I think references, in many respects, to be absolutely useless unless you are self-selecting who the references are.
Right.
Right? Because then their references like their brother, their mom, their roommate, and their best friend from college, right? And they're all in cahoots. Then you can also run a credit check for sure. But even those things can come back clear. It doesn't necessarily mean you can trust the person. Tony Robbins, I don't know if he still does this sort of thing, but what he used to talk about is that when he hires somebody who's like a direct report of his or somebody on the C-suite or an executive assistant, he would invite himself over to their home to have dinner. And it was important for him to see how these people live, right? And he'd want to be able to meet like their spouse or whoever they're their roommate. So that's one thing you can do, just to kind of get to know this person and spend some time with them. But the other thing I would say is ultimately, like, you can do all this stuff. You can even assign a polygraph to them. You can they can pass all those things. The thing I would lead with is that you don't have to give them access to everything immediately on day one. They don't have to have access to your bank accounts. They don't have to have access to your email. I think when it starts working with someone, it's like a ride along. Just help me in my day to day, right? Then I'm going to delegate my calendar to you. And like once you demonstrate that you can do that well, then we'll start delegating email to you. And then as time goes by, then we'll start delegating. And like you can put checks and balances in place. So for example, when we do payments here, vendor payments, those sort of things, we've used a platform called bill.com. And with our finance team is they can submit the payments and then another person can approve them and then another person can actually pay them. So it's not the one person can do all three. It just creates these different checks and balances. And even then, like it's taken years, even with my assistant and even with our finance team before got to open up the floodgates to all of the, the bank accounts and everything like that. It wasn't like, hey, I just met you. Here's access to all of our checking accounts, right? Sometimes access starts as like read access, read only, right? And then there's like approval steps. So it's really just earning that trust over time. That's just the way it goes. I've had bad experiences over the years with executive assistants, and I've had great experiences. And what I can tell you is just sometimes you never know. You never know in that interview process. I do think that someone's personal life, it can make a massive impact in that type of role. So if this is going to be somebody who's going to be involved in handling money for you, you want to make sure that they're in themselves good at managing money.
Yes.
Right. And that their financials are in check. So if you bring somebody in who's like really, 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 really bad with money and you ask them to manage your money, you can only predict what's going to happen. And if you bring in somebody whose personal life is an absolute mess and completely disorganized and you ask them to keep your life organized, that's not going to work well either. So I think a lot of it just comes from just ramping things up as you go along and then instituting like checks and balances where they don't have like super admin access to in your entire life.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes it's, you can have, this is kind of, people are going to think this is crazy, but you could have multiple assistants.
Yeah.
You have an assistant for like the business and you have an assistant for your personal life and, and they're in completely separate lanes. Don't let this fear of potentially not being able to trust someone prevent you from being able to make progress. Because those people are out there that you can trust and would be a massive, massive, massive help to you. So just because there's a few bad apples out there doesn't mean that's how they all are. And sometimes you just have to go through that experience, but you can save yourself from being burned by not rolling out super admin access right out of the gate and, kind of
crawl, walk, run.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the way to do it.
Yes. All right. Question number 2. Michael, this is uncomfortable for me to even ask, but I've noticed that as my practice has become more successful, I find myself questioning everyone's motives. Old friends from law school reach out after years of silence. People I barely know ask for advice that's really just a pitch, and even casual conversations feel like they're building toward an ask. I find myself being cynical about new relationships because I can't tell who's genuine and who sees me as an opportunity. Do you experience this, or am I just being paranoid?
Welcome to the winner's circle. Yes.
It's real.
Yes, it's real. Like, hey, look, I can count my inner circle on one hand. This is the price that comes with growth, and this is the price that comes with success. And it doesn't mean that other people are malicious or predatory or anything like that. I remember where I would get one quote from a landscaper, over the phone, and then when they come over to our house, it'd be a totally different quote. And we were very clear on everything to do with like the yard, the size of the yard, whatever, right? Same thing. I even heard this recently. Like we get quarterly blood labs done, and there's like the flat rate that they charge, and then when they come to this office and they're like, oh, it's going to be like 3 times more. Why? I don't know, right? Because I think I can charge you more, right? So that a part of that is just human nature. I don't know that everyone necessarily sees you as an opportunity, but people are, they're playing their own game.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are trying to pursue their own agenda. They're in it for themselves. I don't think it's anything against you or malicious. It's no different than, I have friends that reach out from middle school, high school, college, and it's not like, hey man, I miss you. How you doing? I remember back in the day when I was in, working in the nightlife industry, I'd have people reach out and saying, hey, can you get me into Calvin Harris?
Oh yeah.
Right? Can you get me into David Guetta? Right? Can you get like this? Yeah, because they see us as somebody who's a connect. Then now they see our conferences and they're like, oh man, like I saw you guys had Nick Saban. Can I meet Nick Saban?
Right.
Or you had Wayne Gretzky, or when we had Arnold Schwarzenegger at Mercedes-Benz, and like, there's people reaching out all the time, things like that. Or people just see that, you're doing well, or they think you're doing well, and be like, hey, let's grab lunch, let's connect, let's grab dinner. And it's tough because, in a way, I almost feel that we ourselves, like when you start to feel like, oh, is this person reaching out to me because they really want to connect, or do they have an ask? Is it because they need something from me? It makes it hard to have genuine relationships. So, and I find this as well, like every time we even bring speakers to our conference, like the last thing they want is for someone to just like fawn over them. And when we're sitting backstage, sometimes this is surprising because like, I think, who was it? Like, oh yeah, like we were sitting back, Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne had brought his son as well. And I mean, of course, it's like Wayne Gretzky, the great one, right? Like this is like the greatest hockey player of all time, probably one of the greatest athletes of all time. But he's also a father, and he's also just a human being. And we're like sitting in the back with our legs crossed, we're like, what's up, man? How's it going? Like, it's like that. That's what they like, you know? And that's where like that, those are the things that they just don't feel like you need something from them. They want to be treated normal.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, that's going to come with the territory as you become more and more successful. Not every time someone's going to ask you to lunch or dinner that they want something from you. That's not always the case. But the reality of it is like you only have so much time. And the way I look at it is that if I say yes to lunch or dinner with you, and that means saying no to my family and I have to be home later, then I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not worth the trade-off. It's nothing against you. It's just we only have so much time, and we can only we put our focus in so many places. So like you look at what's a priority for you, and I've even seen people get offended by that. They're like, oh, you're too good for us, or you don't have time to hang out, or like, why can't you do X, Y, and Z? And it's like, look, man, all I think haters or criticism, all that really is somebody having a different preference than you. They might look at how you live your life, and their perspective of that is that that's not my preference. Mm-hmm. So that's why they would criticize. That's all it means. It's just that's not my preference. That's not what I would do, right?
It also doesn't help that you and I are introverts.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's that part as well. It's like, yeah, man. Like, I don't know if I want to go to that grand opening.
Right.
Like, not that I don't support you, but
yeah.
like, I'd rather sit at home. But yeah, I would just say, look, that's normal. That's a part of it.
So
not
normal.
Everybody's out to screw you. I know your spidey sense goes up, but you start to realize more and more and more when you have something that people might want. There's going to be more and more people that want those things. So sometimes interactions become less genuine. And then you lean on the people that were with you when you had nothing, because you know that for sure these people are with me for me, right? And like they've been a part of this journey and grow. Like those are some of my closest friends, like the ones that have been with us from the beginning. It's very difficult, I think, for a new person to enter, only because they're now coming in and like either they weren't on that journey, or I think, what is it they want?
Right. Yeah. No, I actually had this realization a couple years ago when you threw my 40th birthday party. Everyone at my 40th was actually the exact same group that was at my 30th. There were no new additions. And so I was like, an entire decade passed and I just didn't get that close to anyone else. And so I think, like you said, it's the inner circle.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just the number of friends you have, but I think it's really the quality of those relationships. I think that's the most important thing, the quality of the relationships.
Yeah.
And I find that the people I like being around the most are the ones that really don't need anything from me at all. And that there's no ask. We're just there to be helpful. And the minute like, oh man, you want to spoil a relationship, it's like, okay, the ones that kind of I've had, this is brutal to say, I've had people that I've known for years and they had that delayed ask like 2 years later of like, okay, man, I'm really, really struggling. Like, can I get an investment? Like, can I get some money? And I'm like, what? All this time? Like, that's why we've been like, we've been reaching out, you've been hanging out, like all that, because this was eventually coming because you were struggling for the last 2 years. It was always for that, that lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Right? That's not to say people can't ask for help and you can't help other people. But yeah, it's a
real thing.
It's the reality of it.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
All right. To close us out with question number 3. Hey, Michael, I have a boutique family law firm that's been taking off. And as we've grown over the years and as my kids get older, I've realized that they're starting to notice that we live differently than some of their friends' families. I came from nothing, so I'm always making sure they understand that the nice things in our life come from immensely hard work. However, I'm terrified of raising entitled kids who don't have any work ethic because they know money isn't an issue. I know you also grew your business from nothing, so what's been your approach?
Man, this thing keeps me up at night and scares me to death. Nobody wants to raise entitled kids. And it's, especially people that grew up and kind of came from nothing. Like they didn't grow up with much money and they kind of, like created a great life for themselves. And the tough thing about this is that you don't want to see your kids suffer and struggle. Like you want to be able to provide a great life for them. At the same time, you want them to grow up and being like grateful, appreciative, people who can stand on their own and ultimately aren't entitled.
Yeah.
So you don't want to raise spoiled kids. But how do you do that when your kids grow up in a home when you got a swimming pool and you go out to nice dinners and so let's say you fly first class. It's like what, you put your kids in the back? I mean, I think Kevin O'Leary was saying, but he's got adult kids. He's like, yeah, my kids, fly in the back and coach. But I don't know that it's so much that. Like, let's say you stay at the Four Seasons and you put your kids across the street at the Motel 6. From my experience and the people that I've talked to that have like a lot of wealth, but also really like grateful children, what I have seen is it's more about the values you teach them than the lifestyle they grow up with. Right? It's more about where the conversations you have around money, the conversations you have around giving, the conversations that you have around like, okay, here's how this is earned. Do these kids have chores growing up? Are they expected to contribute? Like, are there certain standards that are set? Like, you can teach them really good morals and values. Like, those are the things that they're going to model, not because, they grew up and they got, they have a really nice room or they grew up in a nice home or any of those things. I don't know that you need to downgrade your standard of living to avoid raising entitled children. The ones that I've seen, the people that I know that have entitled children are the people that aren't around and spending time with their children.
Yeah.
That are essentially pawning them off and either buying them really cool things because they think that will replace like the time that they spend with them, right? So for a child, the greatest currency is the time you spend with them. It's not the things that you buy them, right? It's not buying them a cool car. It's not buying them like just, like jewelry or whatever it is. And they would say, oh, wow, thank you, Dad. But what they really want is to spend time with you.
Yeah. And
some of the ways in which we spend time together really don't cost any money, right? Going to the park doesn't cost any money, and that's like really quality time.
Yeah.
Right? So I really do think it's the time that you spend with them and the values that you teach is going to prevent you from raising entitled children. And then also, like, there's only so much you can do. We've had the nature versus nurture conversation. So, I mean, the world's going to teach them a lot, probably a lot more than that you will teach them through their experiences, but you can really help them navigate that by starting with a strong foundation, a good value set, and teaching them about money. So like I have conversations with our oldest all the time, and soon with the youngest, around like, where does money come from? How's money earned? Like, how she can earn money.
Yeah. We made her make bracelets and make her own money. So she wanted new shoes. And I said, let's find a way to get new shoes. We're not buying it for you.
So you got to create something of value, something that's pay money for.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to pay money for it, they don't value it. So you got to make sure these bracelets are top notch. Like, she's like, okay, they got to go in the dark. And they got to yes, you got to make them something people want. And then I remember when she finally made enough money with the bracelets, because she was charging like $2 or $3 for a bracelet.
Yeah.
So she had to make a lot of bracelets.
Yeah.
And she got the shoes. She felt a lot better about earning them,
yes,
right, and spending it right. But then she was almost like, oh man, I spent all this time making these bracelets, so I want to spend all this money to just buy one pair of shoes.
Yeah,
I'm like, look, it's what it costs.
I know,
right? Like one time we went to the movies, and I remember she had like $10 to her name, like her net worth, and she wanted some popcorn. I was like, all right, well, just so you know, it's gonna be like half of your net worth. And she's like, you mean I'm gonna give up half of everything I have to buy this bag of popcorn? I'm like,
yeah.
How important is it to you, right? So then they start to kind of equate the value that they're putting out with what they're earning as well. So you can teach them those things as they grow, and also bring them with you. Like we had the youngest here at the office yesterday. We have them here at the office a lot of times. When we took them to New York, where we would tell them like, hey, like we can take a trip like this because mommy and daddy are at Crisp earning enough money so that we can go take a trip to New York. Right. So when we go away at Crisp, we're not here like just sitting here recording podcasts all day. Yeah, I mean, today we are, but it's for them to see that the money isn't just like Amazon has ruined everything because
instant gratification.
They're like, wait, can you just go online and order that right now? I'm like, yeah, I can, but you don't have any money. So like, why would I spend my money buying you what you want?
And even if you order it, she's like, will it be here today? And then if it's not, okay, tomorrow. So I've started lying and being like, nope, we're going to wait till next week. Like, I need you to learn a little bit of patience. But the instant gratification has ruined this generation.
For sure. Look, spend time with your kids. That's what it is. Spend time with your kids. One of the greatest skills that you can teach kids is really to understand money and how money is made, because you see what happens when kids don't learn that and they become adults and they don't feel comfortable having conversations around money or managing money. And as a result, like that's not a very good thing. And then the ones that grow up and never have to worry about it or think about it do grow up very entitled.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want.
And that's all we got today.
All right. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, Download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at GameChangingAttorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.